He says what?
Okay, we're starting a new unit. This new unit is on just circles. Pretty sure this is page 79. I will let you know for sure tomorrow when I make the cover page. Before we can start this, we have to talk about all these vocab words. All of them, except for really one, will come up frequently. We're going to focus on the left side. We're going to look at these first, and I'm going to jump around because I don't like the order that they're in. The first one I want you to look at is the word circle itself. That is the set of all points around a center point and they are equidistant. And I want you to draw some points around this to show that there's infinitely many points all the way around. If you wanted to talk about this circle without writing the word circle, you would simply draw a circle with a dot and then you would name that center point. So this is circle A. Now we're going to jump down to where it says radius. You may or may not remember that a radius is the segment connecting the center to the edge of the circle. I do want to introduce a new word. It looks weird. It looks like I spelled it wrong. I did not. It is called radii. Radius means one radius. Radii means more than one. Okay? When we are talking about a radius, you will see an R. Hold on. You will see an R to represent radius. So highlight the R, that represents radius. Now go to the circle, and we're going to draw an example of a radius in this blank circle right here. What you need to do is emphasize the center. Then we're going to connect from the center to the edge. We're going to call that point B. And then we're going to put an R floating above the segment to represent the radius. If I wanted to name that radius, it would be called what? AB or VA? Yes. You could go either direction, but you would name it AB or VA. Okay, now we're going to scroll to the top where it says diameter. Come up here to diameter. We're going to use the letter D to represent diameter. You need to know that a diameter stretches from edge to edge, but it passes through the, not the middle, I need you to use a different word. The center. I don't know. There we go. So we're going to draw the center so we can locate it. We're going to name it A. And then I'm making a diagonal diameter. We're going to draw a segment from edge to edge. We're going to label those endpoints B and C. And then we're going to draw a D, lowercase d, floating right above the center point. So if I wanted to name that diameter, there's two things I could name it. What?
BAC and CAB.
Careful, you only name segments with two letters. And it's always the endpoints. So BC or CB. Okay. Let me show you a preview of what's to come, but be careful. Watch yourself. I'm going to open up a new flip chart, and I'm going to sketch. If we have something drawn like this, let's say it's 4, and then let's say we have something over here that looks terrible. It's not as bad. Okay, what if we had two problems like this, and we weren't told specifically, I meant to draw this here. There you go. We weren't told specifically, hey, this is the radius or this is the diameter. We were just given that. Then the location of that number matters. This would mean it's since it's floating above the center, they're implying that they're talking about 10 is the diameter. So you would need to know this, that this would mean, hey, the diameter is 10. Whereas in this picture, even though there is a diameter drawn, if the number is floating in the middle of the segment here, that actually means radius. So make sure you can differentiate between those two, okay? That matters. It's going to come up. All right, back to this. What if the segment from edge to edge does not pass through the center? Then it's called a chord. It is a segment whose endpoints are simply on the circle. I'm going to make a note. Not necessarily through center. It's getting crowded. That says not necessarily through the center. That's really crowded, so I'm going to actually extend that just into the next box and write through the center. A chord is not necessarily through the center. It can be, and if it is, then it's called a diameter. But if it's not, then it's just called a chord. Here's what that looks like. You have the center here. A chord would be edge to edge and deliberately not through the center. And again, in this case, you would call it BC or CB. All right, so we've got circle, we've got radius, diameter, chord. Now we're going to go to two types of lines that actually will not come up till next week. But I'm going to go ahead, we're going to talk about the words because you will hear them next week. We have these two right here. I need you to know that this is pronounced secant, not second. It's secant. The E is long. It is pronounced secant. Then you will notice the next vocab word says tangent. It is not trig tangent. Not the tangent from trig, okay? So, I don't know if you want to make a note to yourself, like right here, not trig tangent. Trig tangent is a math function. This tangent is a noun. It means a special type of line that's in a certain place, just like a diameter, special chord that passes through the center. What do the two mean? Let me show you an example of the two. Then we're going to put the points on the picture so we can name it. First of all, place the center on both. So we got center A on both of them. Y'all staying with me? Stay awake. Here's what a secant does. A secant cuts straight through. Notice I didn't pass through the center. You could, but I just wanted you to know that the majority of the time it doesn't. And then a tangent is like this one. Now, we're going to put some points on this so that you can understand the difference in the pictures. The first points that I need you to put for secant would be where it's crossing the circle. We're going to call this one C and this one B. So if I wanted to discuss this line, notice it has arrows, that means it's a line, then I would name it either CB or BC. And when I write it, I have to put arrows above it to show that I'm talking about the line. Tangent. Look right here. We're going to connect our center to the edge right here, which means I just drew what vocab word? I just drew a radius. And we're going to label this point as B, and we're going to put another point on this line as C. So once again, if you wanted to talk about that line up there at the top, you would say that it's line BC. Okay, ignore that. Look at the difference between the two. Do not highlight. Don't highlight this. How many times is the secant line crossing the circle? 1, 2, right? Don't highlight that. I'll show you what to highlight in a second. How many times is the tangent line crossing the circle? 1.
I was looking at secant.
Now, it's, oh, you were looking at the secant?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Now, if you were to zoom in really close right here, you would see that it literally only has one point in common. You would zoom in so much so that the curve, you're zoomed in so much, the curve won't even look like a curve because you're going to see that one point that the line has in common. Does that make sense? So, look at the difference between the two. A secant crosses in 2 places, and a tangent touches one point, right? Here's what I need you to highlight. I need you to highlight the 1 point on the tangent, and then I need you to highlight right here where it says at exactly 1 point, and that is called the point of tangency. That is another vocab word. If I said, what is the point of tangency in this picture, it would be point B. That's a vocab word, point of tangency. That means where's the tangent line touching the circle? Okay? Now, how are you going to remember that a secant is cutting through in 2 places and a tangent is touching? This is the way that I memorize it. Remember when I said don't pronounce this second? Right? Well, I want you to think of how it's mispronounced as it looks like second. I want you to think second place, which implies what number?
2.
And how many places is it crossing? 2. So I want you to think, we're going to write think second place. And the reason we're going to think second place is because it's going to cross at 2 points. Whereas I want you to think tangent means touch. Think tangent. Tangent means touch? Where is it just touching the circle? It's coming to the circle, it touches it at one point, and then it keeps going. And that's it. That's the difference between the two. So you'll notice that a tangent line is always on the outside of the circle. A secant is cutting straight through. Okay? Those vocab words are not going to come up again until next week. So next week is when we will remind you what it means, and then we'll practice the difference between the two of them. Come down here to congruent circles. What does congruent mean? Be more specific. Equals size, right? Okay, if I have congruent circles, what part do you think must be equal to make them congruent? The radius. So, do y'all know how to draw a perfect circle with a string? Imagine like you got the string, you hold it down in place, the center, and when you stretch it out, that's your radius, and then you just swing it around with your pen or pencil, right? So you draw a circle by swinging the radius all the way around. So if you have congruent circles, then they must have the same, what length? Radius length. If the radius is the same, then the diameter would also be the same. But usually we just discuss that it's the radius. So I want you right here to draw one with a radius of 5. And then I want you to draw another one with a radius of 5. We are going to name the center points. I'm going to call this one A and this one B. So because the radius is 5 on both of them, you would say that circle A is congruent to circle B. All right, the next one, concentric circles. This actually comes up, I think, one time. So, and when it comes up, I'll remind you, hey, this is that vocab word, concentric circles. Concentric circles are when you have a small circle embedded within a large circle. So if a small one is embedded within a large one, then what piece of the circle do they have in common? The middle, which is called the center. Okay, so right here, I want you to draw the center. We're going to call it A. And then in the definition, we're just going to underline that they share the same center, which is point A. And we're done with this column. Now we're going to go over to the other side. Now we're going to look at angles and arcs. Angles and arcs. All right. Coming up here to the top. We have two types of angles. We have inscribed and central. Inscribed and central. Here's the difference between the two. A central angle, its vertex is the center of the circle. And an inscribed angle, its vertex is sitting on the circle. So here's the picture. You're going to draw from the edge of the circle a line going out, or a ray, I guess, and a ray going out this way. And then we're gonna put a point here and here. So this is B, D, C. center of the circle, you will notice that it does not touch that angle, and that's on purpose. I don't want it to touch it. Because the next one, watch this. You're going to draw your center, label it from this side, and then now what we're going to do is draw our lines like this. So there's a huge difference between the two of those. You will notice the inscribed angle, all three letters that I named the angle on. If you trace the circle, do you notice how all three letters are on the edge of the circle? So that would be angle BDC. With a central angle, do you notice that only the endpoint angles, the endpoint letters are on the circle, and the middle one is the center. So this would be angle BAC. You can highlight right here that it says that the vertex is the center of the circle, and then highlight A. Notice central angle. I want you to think center. You're going to think center. It's based from the center of the circle. All right, the next part, we're going to skip around. Circumference and area. No, circumference is on there. Okay. We got arc length, arc of a circle. Okay, semi-minor, big. All right. So circumference. I think you learned circumference in middle school because somebody taught like a song. No? Haskins?
Yes, he did.
Haskins, I already learned from a kid last block, taught a song that d pi is the circumference of a circle. You should also know that it's not just d pi, it's also 2 pi r. What is the relationship? Come back over here. Diameter. What's the relationship between a diameter and a radius? Every time, by the way. What's the relationship? Like, look at a picture of the diameter.
Well, aren't two radiuses like a diameter?
Thank you. Every single diameter in a circle is 2 radii connected that goes straight across, right? Y'all with me? So right here, going over to the left side of your paper where it's diameter, I want you to make a note that diameter equals 2 times the radius. That's the relationship between a diameter and a radius. Got my 3 sleepers, 3.5. That was really not much. No. Go on. I know you are. You're on my list. All right. What is? Circumference is 2 pi r or d pi. This says pi d. It doesn't matter. I usually say d pi. I do want you to come right here where it says do you remember that the circumference is just the distance around a circle? Because the prefix itself means around, okay? Like Christopher Columbus. Did he circumnavigate the globe?
No.
Yes. Right? No.
No,
Who was it?
Don't ask me.
George Washington.
No.
Thomas Jefferson.
No.
Edison.
Never mind.
Don
Never
Johnson.
mind.
Don
Stop.
Don Johnson.
Stop.
John.
Please come right here to the circle. Do me a favor. I want you to draw a radius. We're gonna label it R, and then I'm gonna make a squiggly going around to demonstrate that it's all the way around the circle. It's the distance all the way around, okay? So if I said, what's the circumference of a circle whose radius was 4? Then it would be 2 pi 4, and then you would clean that up. It'd be 8 pi. All right, look at the next vocab word. Arc length. Don't worry about this right here. I have an easier way to do it when we get to this next week. It says it is a fraction of the circumference. The circumference is all the way around, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Arc length means a portion of it. So what I want you to do, just as an example, I want you to draw the center, and I want you to draw a central angle, which means like you're cutting a round cake. You're cutting a triangular slice from a round cake. And then here's where your highlighter comes in. Arc length would be the distance from here to here. No, don't highlight that part. From here to here, I'll show you what to highlight. And we're going to say it's like, say, 4 centimeters. I don't know. We're making it up. If we say length, guys, if we say the word length, we mean linear, like feet, yards, meters, millimeters. The word length implies that you're measuring it out. All right. Arc measure of a circle. Look at this. This one's a lot easier to understand. If we have from here, we're going to say point B to here, point C. I want you to highlight it. I want you to highlight it. From B to C. And we're going to say that this measures 60 degrees. Arc measure means how many degrees are in that highlighted portion if you were to rotate to measure it, okay? When we get into arcs, there are 3 specific types of arcs. 3 specific types. You're going to highlight this to show that these 3 all have the same context. First of all, if a diameter is drawn in a circle, what does it do to the circle? Diameters do what? They cut a circle in half. I want you right here to draw the center and then a diameter, cutting it in half. I want you to put the following points on it. We're going to put B, C, and D. And then we're going to highlight from B through C to D. What is going on? This is called a semicircle. Do you know what semi means? Half. Semi means half. Stores that have their semi-annual sale, it means a sale halfway through the year. What? Oh, you're awake. A semicircle is created by diameters. This is really important. I want you to box in the word diameter. Semicircles are only created when a diameter is drawn. It's really important that you commit that to memory. If a diameter is drawn, then two semicircles are there. The way you name the arc, I hope y'all are listening. The way you name the arc, this is important. The highlighted yellow portion has to be named from endpoint to endpoint, and in this case, because it's an arc, not a segment, it's an arc, right? I'm tracing around a circle. You would name it with the letter C in the middle to show that you're going that direction. So this would be arc BCD, and that's how you write it. Now, you don't have to put this point on your picture. I'm going to put another random point over here, and I'm going to call it E. If I said just arc BD, you wouldn't know what direction to go, would you? Right? If I said BD, that means start at B, end on D, but I didn't tell you which way to go. Which in this case, it doesn't matter because it's a semicircle. But what if it's not a semicircle? What if it's what's called a minor arc? All right, here's what I want you to do. We are going to copy this exact picture on these two circles, but then we're going to highlight in a different spot on each of them. So let's copy the blue. We got the center. We're going to draw the diameter. B, C, D, and then we're putting E on it. And then put that exact picture on the next one. Now, here's what you got to highlight. What does minor imply? Small. What does major imply? Big. Look at the difference in these three words. Semicircle is saying half the circle, which means there has to be a diameter. Minor arc would imply less than half. Major arc means more than half. That's what we need to write. Minor arc means less than half. Major arc means more than half. Now, I want you to highlight on the minor. Don't get confused here. On the minor, I want you to highlight from C to D. On the major, I want you to highlight from B through C to E. Once you highlight that, now I'm going to tell you how to name those. Minor arcs always get named with just 2 letters. So this would be C, D. You're going to make note. 2 letters. Oh, I didn't put the arc above it. You would have an arc above it, and you would write that it's 2 letters. Major arcs either get named by saying that it's the word major, like you see the word major before the 2 letters, or you would see 3 letters. So this would be, and it could be 2 things. It could be B-C-E, or it could be B-D-E. It could be either one. So it can be B-C-E or B-D-E. You don't name 4 letters, no. It's going to be 3 letters, and that lets you know that they mean a major arc. Now, here's your homework.
Oh, Mom. But Jesus, Lord, help me on my
20 questions vocab that you could finish before the bell rings.
I don't.
I think
I don't have to do that at homework, so I can do it at home.
Nobody's packing up yet, so you're going to do it right now.
No.
Please set a good example to my son as to how to embrace homework.
Yay, homework.
Wake up!
What is that?
That's confusing.
Oh my God.